Alright guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay. So it's time to give you a 5-day review of the Samsung Galaxy A70. Now this has been my primary device, and I'm going to recap just a little bit before I get going here, how I got this device and where I bought it from and the price and everything like that. So running the specs down, obviously it's a 6.7 inch Super AMOLED display from Samsung. It is really nice. It has a 4500 milliamp hour battery inside, 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs in the phone, and also a 128 gig card came with the phone. So 256 gigs, about 200 of that might be free to me as the user right out of the box. The cameras are 32 main camera on the rear with an 8 megapixel and a 5 megapixel. Now 8 megapixel is for ultra wide, and then the 5 megapixel is for the depth sensor. The front camera is a 32 megapixel camera, which also has a wide angle ability to shoot in wide angle as well. And I think that's just one of the most beautiful things ever. What else? The phone it has fast charging. It comes with a 25 watt charger in the box. It's type C. Doesn't have stereo speakers or anything like that, but it does have a headphone jack with Dolby Atmos when you plug in. It's Bluetooth obviously, so it's a really nice setup. So I want to start by my experience first with the device overall. Now software is something that some people, you either like TouchWiz, One UI, whatever you want to call it, you either like it or you don't like it. Now Samsung, like I've spoken of skinned Android phones, pretty much they're running neck and neck with stock now. It's just a matter of them looking different as far as the way they look. But as far as updates go, this phone is on the May security patch, and since I've had the device, I've gotten one update for the May security patch, and it added Super Steady Shot, and Super Steady Shot is actually really awesome. Wow, it just smooths out the entire video. It's unreal how that works. So yeah, I got an update for the May security patch. It is on the May security patch. It is running Android Pie. It's Android 9. And that is where the software is. The software is buttery smooth, no issues with it. When I'm running a stock launcher, it is absolutely great. I do run my favorite launcher, which is Pix launcher, you know, for the most part. But during the review phase, I try to limit myself on using that because Pix launcher is more like a stock Android thing. So other than that, Samsung's One UI is great, and I'm running version 1.1 One UI. Now, the phone's one of the phone's strong suits I've learned is the cameras. The cameras are really impressive. Hit smartphoneconversations.com and you can see where I compare the wide angle lens against the LG G8's wide angle lens, and the LG G8's wide angle lens is one of the best in the game. And that is why I chose to put this phone against that device. I feel like it's worthy to be there because it is not just that it has an ultra wide lens, it's a good ultra wide lens. And we'll talk about pricing and availability of this device later on down the line, the model. A lot of people keep asking about that. But I found myself using the wide angle lens on the device a whole bunch more than the just the regular lens, the 32 megapixel lens. The wide angle lens, you can shoot video in wide angle, but you can't adjust it while shooting like the LG G8 and most LG devices. But once you set it at wide angle, you'll record there. And then when you switch your back to regular, you can record there. Now you can't record in 60 frames per second in wide angle, but you can on the G8. That's fine because the quality still comes out really well. And some people ask why I focus more on video than photos. Well, I do a lot of videos, and so I'm often searching for that device where I can use it if I'm on a trip or something like that. And the G8 has proven to be the top dog for video and a whole bunch of other areas, photos and everything. Speaking of photos, I took some portrait shots, which are basically, the phone has Pro Mode, by the way, too. I don't know if I mentioned that yet, but it does have Pro Mode, and it's very simple to use. It's very straightforward, not very difficult at all. If you know how to use a DSLR, you know how to use Pro Mode. But I found myself using the Pro Mode just to take a couple of portrait shots and things like that and just get some really clear shots. And yeah, along with video, there's no Pro Mode in video, but you can shoot 60 frames per second with the video, or you can shoot 4K or 1080p. You can also shoot full. Now the full video is actually 20:9, which is actually pretty cool. I'll be giving you an extended look at that in a separate video, but I have done an extended look on the cameras, just shooting raw video for you and putting it together. And the cameras nonetheless, I'm impressed with the cameras. If you compare it next to the Pixel 3a, and it held its own. I think it did much better in video than the Pixel 3a, but that's not to come as a surprise, because some people think that the Pixel 3a's cameras are weak in the video area, and I think they're very strong, but there's always competition. Someone can always do it better. So cameras, needless to say, totally impressed. Wide angle shots, wide angle video, totally impressed. Definitely gives the LG G8 a run for their money. So let's talk about battery life. Battery life on this phone has been overall decent. A downside that I've found with the battery life is the standby time. Now, when I compare it next to the Pixel 3a, the Pixel 3a standby time is much greater. This phone can go about a day with about 6 hours, almost 7 hours on the charge. And the Pixel 3a, when I compare it in a day, when I get to about 6-7 hours, I still have maybe 30% left. This phone might have 15% left. So that's the difference. Even though this phone has a bigger battery, standby time on here, the resources that the Samsung devices pull compared to really stock Android, is the difference there. So battery life, impressive still. I posted some things on social media. You can definitely get a full 24 hours out of this thing, and you can get about 5.5 to 6.5 hours solid, no problem. So battery life is important to people, and you know, that's something. It's just no use having a big battery. And one thing about the battery, that's my battery time. You could get this if I think I saw somewhere someone posted that they have the same device and they get between 9 and 10 on every charge. But everyone's going to use their devices different. Everyone's going to have a different set of applications. You always have to keep that in mind when people are talking about battery life. Yours is always going to be different than the OP. All right, so keep that in mind. You might get this phone and get 3 days worth of battery out of it, but I'm on it constantly. I have 6 emails syncing, about 6 social media apps syncing, notifications coming in continuously, and that's something that to keep in mind with my usage. So getting 6 hours to 7 hours, or possibly 7.5 out of this phone is fantastic for me. So the battery, the cameras, the hardware on the device, I'm totally impressed with it. It's really nice. I don't have any complaints about the hardware. I think it's gets a little slippery, but as you can see lately, I put it in a case, and this is by Ringke, so I'll try to remember to leave the link down to this below so you can purchase yours. It's the camo version, and you can see the reflection of the device coming through right there. Absolutely fantastic, just beautiful all the way around. Even without that case. But drop protection, that case is going to be one that you want to go with. If there's not a lot of aftermarket cases, and Ringke has come through with their Fusion X, which is just totally the boss way to go. I've used the Fusion X on nearly every other device, and it's great. It took a while to grow on me, but I really like it. So I want to talk about the size of this phone. Now, the size of this phone, it is a massive device. However, it's a 20 by 9, so think of it this way. The Sony Xperia devices are 21 by 9. So the Xperia 1 is a 21 by 9 device, and this is a 20 by 9 device. And this has a 6.7 inch display. So you would think, in theory, you would think, oh my God, this thing is huge and massive. You're not going to be able to use it. That's not totally true, because even in this case, it is still fairly easy on the hand. Now, I will admit, I do have much larger hands than the average person, but this phone is narrow enough to where anyone can handle it with ease. So keep that in mind. It's a tall device, so that should play in your favor, and you get all screen pretty much. And that's pretty much how that goes. So the feel and hand of the device feels fantastic, folks. I wouldn't mislead you. It feels great in my opinion. You might get it and say, Jay, it's still too big or it's still too small. Who knows? But that massive 6.7 inch display, Super AMOLED on the front, sure will. It's going to please the eyes. You'll fall in love with it once you start using it. So let's talk about the model of the device. Now, the model of my device is the A705 MN/DS, if you want to get really technical, and it's the Latin American version. Now, I've said this in plenty of videos. Please just go to B&H and buy it if you want to buy it. That is where I was gonna purchase mine from, but I actually purchased mine from eBay, not knowing that B&H had it at the time. So I didn't want to cancel my order and kind of mess over that seller. I said I'm just gonna go ahead and go with it, because I did get it for $348 on eBay, and B&H has it for about $360 or so, $370. You do your research on where you want to buy this device from. I'm just recommending B&H because my camera came from B&H and my lens came from B&H. I bought several phones from B&H. I trust them. So I trust them more so than Amazon. and a lot of times B&H doesn't have tax, so that beats out every other place. Now, as far as this particular device, B&H is giving away, they're charging a little bit more, like $360, $365 or something like that, but they're giving away 3 months of service through I forgot the carrier, but I tested their services before, and it's pretty solid. But also, someone keeps posting in the other previous videos of this phone that I've done, is that they sell it at Walmart, and I didn't check Walmart's site, but if they sell it there, do your research and make sure that you have all the bands for your area. Now, this phone does not have band 71, but it does have 66. So I've been running it on T-Mobile USA, and it also work on Cricket, Metro, Simple, anyone with a GSM SIM card that's going on that's not Verizon, not Sprint, not Boost, not Virgin, any of those CDMA carriers, this phone does not work for you. So you have to be on a GSM provider, and you put your SIM card in, and it should automatically pick up your LTE settings for you, and you'll be good to go. As simple as that. Full LTE in the US. You don't need band 66, and you don't need band 71, but people seem to focus on those for some reason. They tend to focus on what the market is telling them is happening or that they need. And this phone right here, you definitely don't need that. You're going to fluctuate between 2 and 4, and sometimes if you go into a hospital or something like that, you might jump onto 12, because that's what 12 is for, penetration. So 2 and 4 are your bands. So, and predominantly most people stay on 4 if you're on T-Mobile. You gotta do your research. So LTE service here is going to be good, and also with Cricket or /AT&T, it should be fantastic. Now I do have Cricket /AT&T, so I haven't tested it yet on there, but because I'm using it as my primary device, and right now my T-Mobile SIM card is my primary device. It should also work on 5, but it won't jump. It won't jump around to Sprint and USA. It'll just be pretty much T-Mobile. But overall, the experience with it, man, I've been pretty happy with it. The software is good. The cameras are great. The battery life is decent. The overall experience is really, really good, man. So I tested out something about the volume. So you don't have to use a app to boost the volume, because when I crank it up, depending on what the coding of what I'm listening to, it sounds fantastic. But I just chose to test that out, and I said I'm going to share this with everyone on the channel about the application to boost. You can use an application to boost the sound if it's not enough for you, and that was pretty much the purpose of that video. But I'm on and off when using that, because I'm using Bluetooth with the phone a lot, and then I'm also plugging in because Dolby Atmos is absolutely great. It is fantastic. So wanted to give you a 5-day kind of follow-up, just touch on a few things here and there. It is a review, a 5-day review, so when I get to my 2-week review or my 30-day review, probably won't sound much different than this unless I find some flaws or things start to go downhill, and then I'll report that to you. This phone probably will not be a catch and release. I don't normally do those. I've had a lot of devices recently. Well, not just had 2. I think I just had the Sony, and I've had a laptop or something, like a couple laptops go bad or something like that, or I had to get rid of them. But overall, this phone is totally worth it. I mean, $348. What more could a person ask for? This is just a great purchase. The A line in the US is Samsung is dropping the A10 and the A20. The ones that don't show direct competition for the Galaxy S10 line. Now, some of you guys who have the Galaxy S10, there's some people who are actually posting that they have this and the Galaxy S10, and they like this better. Now, I said it in a previous video when I unboxed it originally. I said, hey, you know, if they release this phone in the US, their S line is going to go downhill, and I think that it's going to plummet. And I totally believe that, because this phone is that good. I mean, you get this full display, you get facial recognition, you get an in-screen fingerprint reader. These things are on their Galaxy S10 line, and you get a bigger display over here. I mean, this is a huge display, and while the facial recognition is 2D, it's still doable, and I think it's something that you know, you'd be hard pressed to pass on this and get a Galaxy S10. If these two were sitting in front of you, this is $349 or this is $350, and the Galaxy S10 is, the Galaxy S10e is $750. You know, technically it is. So even the discounted phones still cost more than this device from Samsung. So Samsung is bringing over the A line, but they're bringing over the A and the A10, the A20, and they're on T-Mobile, Metro, AT&T. They're going to probably keep it that way for some time to come, because they don't want to kick themselves in the foot by bringing this device over to the US, and it's just going to slaughter there. Now, when I say that, that doesn't mean that this device is completely better than the Galaxy S10, but to the average consumer, they're not walking in the store asking what processor is in there. They might ask how much memory, let me check the cameras, and how's the battery life. Ooh, and also, ooh, I like the way it looks. And let's be honest, this is a beautiful looking device. It is what it is. It's your man Jay. Quick 5-day review. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll give you tons more follow-ups on this phone, and I'll let you know if I decide not to use it as a primary at about the 30-day mark, because I know I'm going to test some other phones, but that doesn't mean that I have to not use this as a primary, because I have 4 phone lines and I can definitely pop a SIM card in either one. So it's your man Jay. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is a follow-up video for you guys on the Samsung Galaxy A70, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.